I was only 18. 18 and still flinching at thunder. 18 and still afraid of the dark hallways in my stepmother's house. 18 and still unsure why life felt like a punishment I never earned. I used to imagine that by the time I turned 18, I would be happy, free, maybe even in love. Instead, I was washing dishes with cold water at dawn, sweeping floors before sunrise, and praying quietly for a day when someone, anyone, would look at me with kindness. But kindness was a luxury in my world, and luxuries belonged to other girls. After my mother died when I was 12, life became a before and after story. Before was gentle voices and warm hands and lullabies. After was orders, chores, and a new woman walking into my home with sharp eyes and sharper intentions. My father tried to protect me. I know he did. But when he died suddenly when I was 16, the house transformed from a place of memories into a place of unpaid debts, unwanted duties, and the constant reminder that I was no longer a daughter, I was a burden. My stepmother reminded me often. "You eat for free," she would say, pushing another basket of laundry at me. "At least earn it. You want books, you want school, who will pay for that? Dreams don't feed anyone. You look better when you stay quiet." Silence became my armor. It was easier to survive when no words escaped, easier to breathe when I didn't expect anything. Then on my 18th birthday, she announced my fate. "You're getting married." I blinked, holding the broom handle tighter. "To who?" "To a good man," she said too quickly. "A rich man. Be grateful." "Why me?" I whispered. Her lips curved into something that wasn't a smile. "Because he wants a simple girl, someone who won't argue, someone who's obedient. Someone moldable, someone like me." I didn't know his name for weeks. She refused to tell me. "You'll know soon enough," she said, and that was the end of it. I wasn't asked for my opinion. I wasn't asked if I wanted to marry. I wasn't asked if I was ready. My stepmother handled everything: arrangements, papers, money. I was simply told to stand where I was placed, smile when asked, and keep quiet. The wedding happened in a rush. I wore a dress chosen for me, colors that didn't feel like mine. People congratulated my stepmother more than they congratulated me. I was a transaction disguised as a bride. His name, I later learned, was Zan. 29 years old, a businessman, successful, reserved, remote. A stranger. I saw his face properly the first time the night before the wedding. Sharp jaw, tired eyes, expression unreadable. He barely looked at me, barely acknowledged my existence, yet something in his gaze made my stomach twist. Not warmth, not affection, just cold acceptance. As if he had bought a piece of furniture and was checking for scratches. The wedding night should have been magical, romantic, beautiful, a beginning. Instead, it became the shadow that followed me for weeks. I remember sitting on the bed, still wearing the heavy wedding dress. The perfume from the garlands made my head spin. The room was unfamiliar, too big, too quiet, too cold. My hands trembled as I tried to unpin my dupatta. Then the door opened. He walked in, closed it behind him, and locked it. The sound of the lock turning echoed like a warning bell. He didn't smile. He didn't soften. He simply looked at me and said, in a tone devoid of emotion, "Take off your clothes." The words struck me like ice water. My breath froze in my throat. I didn't even fully understand what a married night meant. I had never been taught, never guided, never prepared. All I knew was fear. My entire body stiffened. I clutched the fabric of my dress as if it could shield me. He didn't shout, but the command in his voice was absolute. I couldn't move. My heartbeat thundered painfully. My fingers tightened until the fabric cut into my skin. Tears blurred my vision but refused to fall. He watched me, waiting. When I didn't move, he sighed, a long, irritated sound, and turned away. "I'll sleep on the sofa," he said, still cold. "But tomorrow you'd better behave like a wife." Wife. The word burned. He lay down on the sofa at the far end, turned his back to me, and switched off the light. Just like that. No kindness, no reassurance, no humanity. I didn't sleep that night. I sat there in my wrinkled wedding dress, staring at the ceiling. My chest hurt, my throat hurt, my childhood felt like it had finally died. The worst part was the silence. It felt like a door closing forever. For the next week, he didn't touch me, not once. But he also didn't talk to me. He came home late every night, sometimes smelling of rain, sometimes of exhaustion. He ate silently. I placed the dishes in front of him. He never thanked me. He never scolded me either. He simply existed near me like a shadow. Sometimes I caught him looking at me, not with warmth, not with desire, but with a cold curiosity, as if he wasn't sure what to do with the girl sitting in his home. I felt invisible. I cooked, I cleaned, I washed his clothes, I ironed his shirts, I lived in the kitchen more than anywhere else. But he still slept on the sofa. Every night. And every night I wondered whether I should feel relieved or rejected. One evening, something happened that shifted everything just a little. I was washing the dinner dishes. My hands were slippery from soap, my mind foggy from fatigue. I had barely eaten anything that day. My stepmother trained me well in silence. Work first, needs later. As I placed a glass on the rack, it slipped. The sound of shattering glass was deafening. A sharp sting sliced through my finger. Blood trickled down my hand. I gasped, but didn't cry out. I had learned to hide pain, to swallow it before it escaped. As I crouched down to pick up the pieces, the kitchen door opened. Zan stood there. He looked at the broken glass, then at my shaking, bleeding hands. "What happened?" he asked, softly, almost humanly. I froze. It was the first full sentence he had spoken to me since the wedding night. I broke a glass. I'm sorry." His eyebrows pinched together. He stepped closer. I instinctively moved back, afraid he might get angry. But he didn't. Instead, he knelt before me. "You're hurt," he said, quietly, trembling. I nodded, confused. He reached for my hand. I flinched. He paused, then waited, letting me decide. After a moment, I reluctantly let him touch me. He wrapped my finger gently with a cloth. His touch was careful, light, nothing like the cold man I first met. He said, "You should be careful," voice low. "Sit, I'll clean this." I stared at him in disbelief as he picked up the broken pieces. No one had helped me clean anything in years. The shock of his unexpected kindness broke something inside me. Not in pain, but in a way that made my heart ache. He stood up, washed his hands, and walked out without another word. But the impact remained. And the next morning, I found a small first aid box on the table. Beside it, a packet of chocolate. And a note. "For the girl who bleeds in silence." Unsigned. But I didn't need a signature. For the first time in many weeks, I smiled. That was the beginning of something neither of us understood yet. A slow thaw, a shift, a breath of warmth where I expected none. A few days later, it rained heavily. The lights went out, plunging the house into a dim quiet. I lit a candle, made tea, and wrapped my shawl tight. When he came home soaked and exhausted, he looked like a man carrying a world of burdens on his shoulders. Without thinking, I handed him a towel and a warm cup of tea. "You didn't have to," he said, surprised. "I wanted to," I replied, and I meant it. He stared at me for a long moment, long enough that I felt exposed under his gaze. Then he said something I never expected to hear from him. "My mother was like you." I blinked, unsure what he meant. "Quiet," he continued, soft-spoken, always scared. My heart tightened. My father used to beat her, he said. The words were dropped like stones in still water. I used to hide under the table when they fought. I was too small to stop anything, too scared. She died when I was 15. Silence filled the room. Painful, heavy silence. I'm sorry, I whispered. He nodded stiffly. My uncle raised me. He taught me to be tough, to be hard, to never show emotion. That's why I don't know how to be kind sometimes. My heart cracked open at the vulnerability in his voice. You're not unkind, just guarded. He looked away, jaw tense. I thought marrying a quiet girl would be easier, someone who wouldn't argue, someone practical. I didn't know whether to feel insulted or sad. But maybe the morning after the night that changed everything, sunlight crept gently into the room. The world looked different, not because anything extraordinary had happened, but because I felt different. Lighter, calmer, unfolding. When I opened my eyes, he was already awake, sitting beside me with his back against the headboard, one knee bent, one hand resting on his leg. He wasn't staring, he was simply watching me in quiet thought, as if trying to understand the softness of the moment. Good morning, he said, his voice slightly rough from sleep. I pulled the blanket up to my chin, suddenly shy. Good morning. He let out a small breath, almost a laugh, and looked away, trying to hide a smile. We were married for months, yet this was the first time the room didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a beginning. He stood slowly. I'll make breakfast. You? I blinked. You really know how to cook? Barely, he admitted, but I can manage eggs and tea. Maybe. I laughed softly. The sound startled us both, as if laughter was a rare bird that had finally found a safe branch to rest on. He paused at the doorway, glanced back, and said quietly, Thank you for last night. Something warm spread through my chest. Gratitude, hope, and something dangerously close to love. But I didn't say anything. I wasn't sure how. That day was different, and the days after that. Pieces of our life began to fall into place, not with fireworks, not with dramatic confessions, but with small acts of consideration. He moved from the sofa to the bed. Not right next to me, not yet, but close enough to feel his presence, his warmth, his breath in the quiet nights. He started leaving little notes around the house. Drink water. Don't skip lunch. Your fever is better. Don't overwork today. I bought fresh notebooks for your writing. Sometimes I found a chocolate bar in my drawer, sometimes a new bookmark in my book, sometimes a hair clip he must have chosen awkwardly, imagining what I might like. I kept every note in a small wooden box in the wardrobe. Learning him. Living with a man is learning his habits, even the ones he never mentions. Zan was not a morning person. He moved slowly, drank tea silently, squinted at the sunlight, and needed 10 full minutes before his brain seemed to start. But at night, he was alive. He read books late, he cleaned his desk, he made calls. His voice during those calls was firm, authoritative, so different from the gentle tones he had started using with me. Sometimes I stood at the doorway watching him work, his hair falling over his forehead, his brows slightly drawn, his fingers tapping the table absent-mindedly. Is something wrong? He asked without looking up. No, I hesitated. I just like watching you. His hand froze. He looked up, eyes filled with something boyish, something unguarded. You do? Yes, he swallowed, almost nervously. Then you can stay if you want. I sat on the floor beside his chair, resting my chin on my knees while he worked. He occasionally glanced at me with the kind of smile that didn't reach his lips but softened his eyes. It felt like a small promise, one neither of us spoke but both understood. Learning myself. For the first time in my life, I had free time, hours when no one demanded anything from me. Time to read, time to breathe, time to discover what I liked. I learned I enjoyed long showers, soft blankets, warm milk at night, window sunsets, jasmine oil in my hair, writing messy ideas in my notebook. But I also learned things I didn't expect. Like the way my heart sped up when Zan touched my hand, or the shiver that ran through me when he leaned close to reach something, or how safe I felt when he stood behind me. Safety was new, strange, precious. I didn't know how to hold it. The first time he got angry. One evening, I burnt my hand while cooking. A pot slipped and boiling water splashed my wrist. I didn't scream, but I hissed in pain, clutching my arm. Zan rushed in. What happened? Let me see. It's nothing, I said quickly, old habits. He grabbed my hand gently but firmly. This is not nothing, he snapped. I froze. His jaw was tight, eyes sharp, voice sharper. He wasn't angry at me. I realized that instantly. He was angry because I had gotten hurt. But because I was still learning him, the tone terrified me. I stepped back. His expression fell. You're scared, he whispered. I didn't answer. He stepped back too, giving space. I'm not angry at you, I promise. I hate seeing you hurt. His breath shook slightly. He kissed my bandaged wrist. That was the first time he kissed me without hesitation. Growing into each other. Days blended into weeks, our routines slowly intertwined, like vines learning how to climb together. We cooked breakfast side by side. He cut fruit, I made paranthas. He left for work with a small smile. I read or wrote while he was gone. He called during lunch sometimes. He brought groceries home without being asked. We took evening walks on the rooftop. He talked, I listened. I talked, he listened. He told me about his childhood, his fears, his mistakes, the pressure of being successful so young, and the loneliness of being surrounded by people who wanted him for his money. I told him about my dreams, education, books, stories, traveling one day. He listened with that rare softness that came only when he felt safe. You can study again if you want, he said one night as we watched the stars from the rooftop. My head whipped towards him. What? You stopped because no one supported you, but I will. Tears filled my eyes. You mean I could go back to school? You could do anything you want. His voice was solid, grounded, certain. Something bloomed inside me that night, a small seed of purpose nourished by the belief he had in me, a belief I had never received from anyone. But healing isn't straight. There were moments that hurt, times when old habits tried to return, times when my fear resurfaced, times when his silence felt like the past, times when he shut down emotionally, retreating into the cold shell he grew up in. Those days were hard. One afternoon, he came home upset from work. He threw his keys on the table, loosened his tie, and disappeared into his office without saying a word. Old fear clawed at me. Had I done something wrong? Was he angry at me? Did he regret the softness between us? Hours passed in silence. When he finally came out, I stood nervously near the kitchen, hands shaking slightly. He noticed, stopped, and frowned. You're scared again. I didn't answer. He walked up slowly, gently took my hands in his. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't do anything. I had a rough day, that's all. His thumbs brushed my knuckles. I don't want to remind you of your past, he said. I'll try not to bring my bad days home. My voice trembled. You can bring them home. Just don't push me away. He froze, then pulled me into his chest, and stayed there. long enough for both our fears to settle. The first kiss. Real kiss. Months after our intimacy, after dinners and laughs and small confessions, something changed again. We were sitting on the floor of the bedroom, sorting old books. A candle flickered nearby because the electricity was out. The shadows painted his face in warm gold. He picked up a book of poetry and opened to a page. He said, "Read this." I read slowly. My heart was a locked room until you knocked. Softly, gently, without force. I blushed. He watched me with quiet intensity. "Do you believe that?" he asked. "I don't know," I said truthfully. "But I know you never forced the door." He leaned closer. "So, can I kiss you?" I nodded. The kiss started soft, tentative, almost shy. But then he rested his forehead against mine, his breath warm, his voice shaking in the quiet. I never thought I could love someone this much. My eyes fluttered closed, and my heart, for the first time in my life, felt full, overflowing, alive. The world outside our home. Not everything was perfect. Rumors grew in the extended family. People whispered that I must be manipulating him, that a quiet village girl like me didn't belong with a man like him, that I was after his money, that I was too timid, too plain, too uneducated for someone like Zan. I heard the whispers. So did he. One night after a family dinner, when we returned home, I broke down in tears. "They're right. I'm not good enough for you." Voice cracking. "I'm not educated. I don't know how to behave in rich gatherings. I make mistakes. I don't fit in your world." He took my face in his hands, gently but firmly. "You fit in my world," he said. "And that's the only world that matters." Tears streamed down my cheeks. He wiped them with his thumbs. "If they can't see your worth, that's their blindness, not your fault." Something inside me steadied. I wasn't broken. I wasn't unwanted. I wasn't small. Not anymore. He made sure I remembered that every single day. The first time he called me beloved. It happened during an ordinary morning. I was packing his lunchbox. He stood near the doorway, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. When I handed him the lunchbox, he smiled softly and whispered, "Thank you, my beloved." My breath caught. The world stilled. The word wrapped around my heart like silk. No one had ever called me beloved in my life. I pressed my lips together to keep them trembling. He noticed. "Too soon?" he asked, worried. I shook my head. "No, not too soon." "Then I'll say it again," he murmured. He leaned close, kissed my forehead and whispered against my skin, "My beloved." And just like that, the scars of my past loosened their grip a little more. A life blooming. Months passed. He helped me enroll in a writing course. He bought me a laptop, something I had never imagined owning. He told everyone proudly, "My wife is going to be a writer." I didn't believe I could be one, but he believed enough for both of us. I began writing stories. Stories about girls who rose, who healed, who reclaimed their voices. Stories inspired by pieces of me I had never spoken aloud. Zan read everything I wrote, every draft, every chapter, every messy, imperfect paragraph. "This is beautiful, just like you," he would say, and I would blush like a girl falling in love for the first time. Because maybe I finally was. But love isn't just softness. Love is standing together through storms. Love is choosing each other even when the world doubts us. Love is learning that fear, once planted deep, doesn't vanish instantly. One night I woke up from a nightmare, something about my stepmother dragging me away, about being forced back into silence. I woke with a gasp, tears on my cheeks. Zan sat up immediately. What happened? I, I just, I, I couldn't speak. My chest tightened. He pulled me into his arms. It's okay, I'm here. But my breathing didn't slow down. Panic built inside me. He stroked my back gently. Try to breathe with me, okay? Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Slowly, the fear faded. You're safe. No one can hurt you now, not while I'm alive. His words wrapped me like armor. For the first time, I believed them. Becoming a team. We decorated the house together, painting the living room, fixing shelves, planting flowers in the garden. He bought rose plants because he knew I loved their scent. I bought little lights for the bedroom because he said he liked warm corners. On weekends, we cooked together, laughed together, fought playfully over which movie to watch. He always wanted action. I always chose romance. He pretended to hate romance, but I caught him smiling during the soft scenes. Are you secretly liking this? I teased. No, he said too quickly. Then softer. Maybe. Our inside jokes grew, our shared language deepened, our home became filled with small memories. His jacket hanging on my chair, my notebook on his desk, 2 cups of tea on the windowsill. We were no longer two strangers trapped in a marriage. We were becoming partners, friends, lovers, and something far more profound. 2 people learning to heal in each other's light. The first time he said he needed me. One evening, he came home exhausted, dropped his briefcase and leaned his head against the wall. I rushed to him. Zan? He looked up, eyes heavy. Can I hold you? The question was so unexpected, it hit me straight in the heart. You need to? I asked gently. Yes. He nodded once. So I stepped into his arms. He buried his face in my shoulder, breathing deeply, holding me with a desperation I had never seen in him before. I didn't know I needed someone, he whispered. Not until you. I held him tighter, tears pricking my eyes. I'm here, I said softly. Always. He exhaled, long and shaky. And for the first time, I wasn't the only one who needed healing. He did too. And he allowed me to be the one to give it to him. A quiet promise. Months later, as we sat in the garden under the moonlight, surrounded by the flowers we planted together, he rested his hand over mine. You know, he said softly, when we married, I thought I needed an obedient wife. And now? I asked. His fingers intertwined with mine. Now? He whispered. I want a partner, someone who chooses me, not someone forced into my life. I swallowed hard. I choose you. His eyes softened. And I choose you. He lifted my hand and kissed it. Every single day. The afternoon passed in a gentle blur, like sunlight drifting through thin curtains. After lunch, Amara insisted on cleaning the dishes with him. She stood beside Ali, drying each plate he washed, their elbows occasionally brushing. Every accidental touch made her chest flutter, though she tried to hide it. Ali noticed every tiny flinch, every shy glance, every quick smile she tried to suppress. But instead of teasing her, he simply let the moment breathe, soft, warm, unhurried. When the kitchen was clean, he handed her a glass of water. Are you tired? He asked quietly. A little, she admitted. Come, he said, his tone warm. You can rest. I'll stay nearby. But when they entered the bedroom, Amara hesitated. The bed still felt new, intimate, too symbolic. Ali read her silence instantly. "I'll sit by the window," he said, lightly tapping the chair. "You can sleep. I won't disturb you." She gave a small nod, grateful, though a small part of her wished he would sit closer. She lay on the bed, curling slightly on her side. The soft rustle of pages told her he had picked up a book. His presence was calming. Even the sound of his breathing soothed something deep inside her. After a while, she turned her head just a little. He wasn't reading anymore. He was watching her, quietly, carefully, as if studying the rise and fall of her breath. When he realized she'd got him, he gently closed the book. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, voice warm with concern. "No," she whispered, "just thinking." "About what?" She hesitated, then spoke honestly. "About how different you are from what I expected." Ali's brows softened. "Different in a bad way?" She slowly shook her head. "No, in a better way." He let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He stood, approached her side of the bed, and knelt. Not too close, but close enough for her to feel the warmth of him. "Amara," he began softly, "I know this marriage started in a way neither of us chose, but I want to make it gentle for you. I want to earn your comfort, not demand it." Her eyes softened, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. He paused, searching her expression. "If you ever feel scared or overwhelmed, you can tell me. You don't have to hide it." Her throat tightened with emotion. No one had ever spoken to her like that. "I know," she whispered. Ali touched the edge of the blanket, not her, just enough for her to know he was there. "I'll stay," he said. "If you fall asleep, I'll be right here." And for the first time since the wedding, she believed him fully. She closed her eyes again, not because she was tired, but because suddenly, being this close to him made her feel safe in a way she hadn't expected. Minutes later, she drifted softly into sleep. Ali watched her for a long moment, the faintest smile touching his lips. His thoughts whispered quietly inside him. "This is my wife, and I'll protect her peace no matter how long it takes for her to trust me completely." He leaned back in the chair, guarding her slumber like something precious. The slow bloom of comfort had begun.